All right, all right. Greetings and peace, everyone. Greetings to the world. Welcome to the Committed Relationships and Spiritual Activity YouTube channel. I am your host, Neo, and I'm here to share some info with the people. Now, this is some information that most people do not know and they do not comprehend. And this is information coming from my years of studying, examining relationships in general, but also my own personal experiences and reflecting and analyzing my own personal experiences dealing with women. And I have to say, I'm so happy. When you come into higher consciousness and you really see what's been going on in your life, it's you receive a higher level of energy and happiness because you know that you no longer have to deal with the crap anymore because you know what's been going on and you are able to release yourself from the psychological traps. And there are various psychological relationship traps that keeps people trapped into relationships and also that drains their energy. And one of the top things that society wants people to believe, as I think I might have said it in one of my other videos, is that beauty and or material possessions or some kind of celebrity status makes a person worthy of relationship. And I teach people here and a lot of other places wherever I can when I'm talking about relationships that is a big no-no. And that is one thing that I've learned throughout my years of dealing with women and really reflecting and analyzing my own personal situations after I got done dealing with them and going through my personal development process. I realized that all of the women that I pursued in my past, just because of their beauty, they psychologically was not prepared for a romantic committed relationship. And that's all of them. They may have had some nice characteristics that is necessary for a relationship. However, they did not have the large portion of the psychological requirements of a relationship. And then neither did I in those moments when I was with them. And now what I want to explain here in this recording is about when you enter in relationships in general with other people. That means that you are entering a agreement to enter their domain, their psychological and emotional domain, and their domain, and including they enter your domain also. So you're making an agreement, a psychological and emotional and energetic and spiritual agreement. Overall, it's an overall agreement. If you do not understand this, and you do not know what you're getting involved with, and you do not understand psychology, at least on a decent level, spiritual energy on a decent level or higher in an advanced level, then you are more than likely going to run into a lot of dysfunctional relationships, situations, and you're going to feel like you're stuck and you're not knowing what to do. And by the time you do get out, you're probably going to be psychologically and emotionally drained. And most people don't even know how to recover from situations like that. And then they think that the best thing to do for them is to go start working out, go buy some more unnecessary clothes and other material things. And then they wait it out for a few years. And then they think that, oh, okay, I can go and get into another relationship now. I'm telling you, that is how the usual programming is for most people in this world. And that is how society programs people. And unless a person is in a situation like me where they actually was able to stop and realize that, hold on, I'm the one that has to really learn about myself, learn about life, and learn about relationships and raise myself up if I want to be in any kind of relationship with anybody. But at the time when I had my self-realization, that was after a relationship breakup years ago. And that was what got me started on my journey relationship to study and examine relationships. And then once I started studying that led me into studying psychology, reading more of the Psychology Today magazines that would help me get myself into a higher psychological aspect to be able to really think more about the psychology and the behavior of an individual more than just what they have visibly, whether it be like for women, for me with women is her physical beauty, her nice breasts, her booty. That's pretty much what us men are programmed in general, programmed to pursue women for. It's very few men that actually look for a woman because of her mind and her positive energy that she can actually bring to the relationship. And for me, after my completing a large portion of my personal development process, that has allowed me to raise to a higher level psychologically, to where now I look for a variety of aspects of a woman's psyche and also energy that she can bring to the relationship before I actually commit to her. And I've learned that throughout my years. Oh my God. And especially these last two females that I dealt with the past 2 or 3 years. Like, let me give you an example of personal experience. All right. So we have, I'll just say an older female. And the older one, the situation was I met her online and she contacted me. And I've mentioned her before in one of my other videos. I don't know which one it was, but she approached me, and me looking at her, she's exactly how I like them, the biracially mixed one, and beautiful. When most men that would see her, they would probably say the same thing. So when at the time that I met her was a time that I was working on my Committed Relationships ebook. And at that time, I thought that I was on a high level psychologically and spiritually. So, and at that time, I was still under the control of my ego. And I did not realize it at that time. But it took me maybe 2 years later to where I did self-reflection and reflecting on our usual communications with each other, me and her, both on the phone and through text. And then when I reflect on it, one day I was laying down on the couch and I realized, like, hold on. Every time that we're on the phone, every time that I'm on the phone with her, I'm usually the one that's doing the most talking, and she's not really contributing to the conversation. So then I was like, wait a minute. So then that must mean that I really don't know her that much. And that's true, because she did not really share much information about herself besides her relationship, her previous relationship, and that she has with her, that she had with her ex, and how about her ex cheating on her. So I'm like, okay, well, I know that, but she didn't share anything else. So I started to put together a plan to start asking her more questions about herself. And then I had to figure out what type of questions I wanted to ask. So I figured out a few basic ones, and then I said, okay, I'll go and figure out the situation from there, and to get more information about her, to see, to really just get information. And I'm telling you, the questions that I asked her was basic questions that she should have already known. But when people are in psychological zombie mode, there's a lot that they do not know about themselves, that they have not analyzed and developed within themselves, psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually. So as I say in my zombie mode part 2, I explained that when you ask people questions about themselves, if they consistently say, I don't know, then that means, and especially if it's questions about themselves that they definitely should have known by now, and especially if they're in their mid 20s and later, they should already know, then that lets you know that they have not started their personal development process to analyze themselves and to start developing themselves so that they can raise to a higher level psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually. So by the end of the conversation, when I analyzed the conversation, because every time I have depending on what type of conversation it is and what type of information that I need, I'll analyze the conversation afterwards. And I realized that the woman, literally the only thing she has to offer is her beauty. So when some men, when people talk about a guy just wants a woman who's a trophy, or where the woman really is just a trophy for him to walk around and say, look what I got. For some women, that's literally all they have available to offer. Just like with some women, they want a big, bulky, muscular guy. A lot of the big, muscular guys who are gym rats, they're really, what do you call them? Meatheads. Meatheads, where it's just a bunch of muscle and there's no intelligence, there's no spiritual consciousness. And that's how it is for men. And then that's how it is with women, for men. So that's when I analyzed her. So I'm like, okay, so all this time I was like really excited that she was interested in me and I was interested in her. But then after that conversation and me actually analyzing it, I was like, then why on earth was I interested in her? And then that was my ego that was blocking everything else from me being able to perceive things on a higher level, being able to perceive if she was worthy or not of my pursuit and to commit to her. So the ego had me focused only on her beauty, as also my societal programs had me looking at only her beauty. So then I got into my higher logical mind, and that was when it made me realize that I needed to ask her questions about herself so that I can understand information about herself and so that she can realize what's going on with herself. And that conversation and the one before that, I've asked her a lot of questions, and those questions seem to stumble her, which if I was her, I would utilize those questions to make me realize that, okay, I got some learning to do of myself and some development to do. So that's one thing that I want to say also for people who been running around chasing after people, especially men running after women just because of their beauty. You have to see how their psychological condition that they are in as before you go on to your heavy pursuit, because there's a lot of men who are operating off their societal beliefs and also their unresolved psychological and emotional issues, and then they allow themselves to go into heavy pursuit of a woman just because of her physique, her overall beauty, whether it be she literally has facial beauty or physical beauty, as far as the body, the body part. She might have the tits that you like. She might has the booty that you like. She might has that slim, petite look that you like, or that big girl look. Whatever it is, you have to see what is her psychological conditioning that she's in right now, much more than her physical conditioning, which her physical conditioning may be a plus or a negative. but what matters most is the mind. And women already know that with men in general. So the majority of women, they already know to look for the man's mind. So that's why I say that women are psychologically and biologically pre-programmed for relationships in general. It's just that they have to get outside of their societal beliefs, let them go and develop new beliefs so that they can operate much more on a premier level. Because I'm telling you, these world societies, they do whatever they can to disorient people's minds so that they can be much more controlled and be like sheep. So that's one major thing that I look for when I'm speaking with a woman. And I know now to slow my roll and to not be all happy-go-lucky just because she's beautiful. No, I got to go ahead and do I call it psychological diagnostics tests. And that's the asking the questions. And I can tell by a variety of other things if she's in zombie mode or if she's in conscious mode. And if she actually started her personal development work, I can tell the difference. And it's the same thing with just people in general when I'm speaking with them or just observing them from a distance. I can tell the difference. So when you're entering these agreements, these relationships with people, you enter their psyche and their emotional and spiritual domain. So you have to be aware of these people that most people do not do personal development work. They have not started their personal development process. So you're going to be, even though they look like they have all of these material possessions that makes them look like an adult. Oh, I have a car. I have a job. I went to school. I graduated. I'm independent. You know how society has women, a lot of women. And I'm telling you, this Beyonce, they work in this Beyonce and using her part of their agenda, society's agenda, really, really good. Really, really good. She seems like she's awakening more. And I'm not talking against Beyonce because maybe she was unconscious of what she was doing when she was recording these songs. But it's not only her, it's a lot of other artists, and there's actors, actresses, a lot of people who's working on the agenda, or working with the agenda of these world governments that's keeping people on a low psychological and spiritual state. So for the women, it has a lot of women walking around, oh, I'm independent, I don't need a man, and thinking that they can be by themselves and that they don't need the union of a man. And then you got some of them that's walking around thinking that because they have the material possessions and they have the beauty, that they are ready for a relationship. And they think that they deserve a high quality relationship with a high quality man. But in actuality, there's a lot of psychological processes that they have to detach from and evolve themselves before they move into a relationship, so that they can contribute productively to progress the relationship, and so that it can be a meaningful relationship instead of then contributing to the relationship destructively. And it's the same thing with men. With men, those men who have been through negative past relationships with their mother and did not receive the positive love and affection and mature guidance from their mother, then they're less likely going to be psychologically prepared for a relationship with a woman in general either. And it's the same thing with me. I didn't have a strong relationship with my mother. So for me, doing my personal development work, I was able to perceive that and actually analyze it and know what I need to do to develop myself so that I'm prepared for a relationship, prepared to contribute positively so that I have that wisdom, I have that maturity that I can bring to a relationship with a woman. So for me, analyzing myself, I'm much more prepared psychologically and emotionally and spiritually to be in a committed relationship with a woman now than ever before. Especially understanding my ego and learning how to learning that I can ignore and bypass its emotions and thoughts that it gives me. Because if I didn't do that, then if I didn't understand those things, I probably would still be in a relationship with if one or more of the women that I've been with in the past, and all of them, well, I say the majority of them were beautiful, but now I understand the psychological aspect and the spiritual aspect of relationships. I realized that, okay, all of them was not prepared for a relationship. So it's good that I left them alone. And it's the same thing with these recent females. I'm glad that I'm able to leave them alone, which my ego has been trying to get me to seek comfort in them. But my higher logical mind realizes that they don't have anything to offer a relationship besides stress and anything else that society tells us that is good to have in a relationship. So overall, it's the best thing for you to do as far as relationships. You have to understand that there's societal mind programs that people have to get out of, and that gives people a perception that relationships aren't as high as they supposed to be. So society gets people to think that, and as I said in one of my relationship breakdown lectures, society gets people to think that committed romantic relationships are all about holding hands, going out on dates, and romance. And that's the end all be all. And if you really look at these movies and TV shows and listen to these songs, that's pretty much all they display. You got these singers singing about love. Oh, holding hands, going on dates, buying gifts. I want to give you the world, like some male singers. I want to give her the world. I want to have passionate sex. Let me see what else they say. You are my life. And then for the women, it's I don't know. It's a whole bunch of other stuff too. So then that gets into people's minds, and then they get trapped in that love trap. Go check out my love trap recording that I talked about. You can check that out on my homepage. Go into the playlist, and then you'll see the psychological trap playlist right there. So I'll talk about that. So I'm telling you, you really have to sit down with yourself and analyze a self-analysis and self-reflection and self-development to really realize what's going on in your mind that you have to resolve, and see what's going on in this society so that you can be able to make wise decisions. Oh, another thing I want to say is walking into somebody's domain when you agree with them to be in a relationship with them in general. If you do not know what you're doing and you do not know what to perceive and what's going on, it's kind of like a person walking into a building that on the outside it looks pretty, and it looks nice, and it might have some good benefits as far as material possessions that it can bring to you, but then if you do not realize what's going on, they might not have the building might not have a stable foundation for it to remain on. So a person might walk into a building where any moment the building can actually collapse, any moment. And then things just start falling all over the place, and you're like, what the hell? And it's the same thing with relationships. And some people, they'll stay in that building thinking that it's beneficial for them. And then their higher self will come through and say, look, you got to get out of here. This is not a good place for you to be. But then the person's ego is seeking comfort, saying, oh, no, stay with them because you have a child. Oh, no, stay with them because you're getting material benefits. Oh, no, stay with them because the sex is good. It'll tell you to do some fucked up shit, and then some people will actually abide by their ego rather than their higher self saying like, no, you got to get out of this relationship, you got to get out of this building. And that's why people have to learn to listen to their intuition, even when, especially early on, so that you'll be able to avoid entering agreements with people who have not resolved themselves, their psychological issues, rather than just carrying that psychological baggage, that psychological emotional baggage, that destructive baggage that could really sabotage a relationship. So you got to learn how to read people. You got to learn what's going on. And you can start with my YouTube channel right here. That it is a great start. I'm not saying that my channel and my information is the end all be all, but it's a great start. So you can go ahead, click that subscribe button, and then click the bell button to get email updates whenever I update a new video. And yes, that was a plug, and it was a shameless plug. And also you can check out my website. That link will be in the description here, so check that out. You can check out you can send me your questions, comments, and concerns, and also send me some of your past relationship experiences if you are willing to share, because that allows me even more information to study for myself, because it might confirm something that I already know, but I just need external confirmation, and it overall helps me out a lot. And then also your information might be able to allow me to create a new topic, speak about a new topic that I have not spoke about on this channel. So overall, sharing your experiences with me, it helps me out a lot. Whether it is you're seeking a solution or not, it still helps me out. Or you can decide to just get a consultation, and then we can go that way too. So you can check out my website for that. Also, when you go to the website, make sure that you sign up for the email list so that you can get updated with me that way, so that if I'm not doing anything on YouTube, you'll still be able to get updated that way. That includes blog articles, podcast updates, and anything else. So like, comment, share this link, this YouTube video anywhere you can, and subscribe. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time. Greetings and peace, everyone. Do you currently need a website? Web design is a very tedious process for a variety of people, and a lot of people do not want to sit around and create a website for themselves. Well, I can help you with my Neooneness web design. You can go ahead and check out the description section for my link.